The clock struck 2 in the morning. William pushed his heavy cleaning cart down the silent corporate hallway. His hands were rough from endless night shifts. His mind was heavy with worry about his young daughter, Lily, and her unpaid medical bills. Inside the private executive elevator, a sudden sparkle caught his tired eyes. William knelt down. On the cold marble floor lay a stunning diamond ring. He recognized it instantly. It belonged to Amelia, the powerful billionaire CEO who ruled the building from the top floor. The ring was worth more than everything William owned. It could easily solve all his problems. But William was a good man. The next morning, he gathered his courage and knocked on her grand office door. Amelia looked up, her beautiful face pale and stressed. William stepped forward and gently placed the sparkling ring on her desk. Amelia stared at the ring, then locked her intense eyes on him. She did not say thank you. Instead, she whispered, "I need you to marry me." William stood frozen in front of Amelia's massive mahogany desk. The air in the penthouse office felt thin and cold. He thought his tired ears were playing tricks on him. A billionaire CEO asking a night shift janitor to marry her sounded like an impossible joke. But Amelia's dark eyes were completely serious. There was no mockery in her voice. There was only raw, trembling desperation hidden behind her expensive suit. Amelia stood up and walked toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the waking city. Her voice was quiet as she explained the dark truth behind her glamorous life. Her father had built this massive empire from nothing with his bare hands. Before he passed away last year, he had left a strict condition in his final will. Amelia had to be legally married before her 30th birthday to officially inherit the company. Her birthday was only 2 weeks away. If she remained single, her ruthless uncle would take total control of everything. Her uncle wanted to tear down her father's legacy, fire the loyal workers, and sell the company off piece by piece. Amelia needed a husband, and she needed one immediately. "Why me?" William asked, his voice rough and tight. "You have wealth. You know powerful men. Why choose a man who cleans your floors?" Amelia turned back to face him. She pointed at the diamond ring resting on the glass desk. She told him that any other man in this building would have pawned that ring for a fortune. Any greedy executive would have used it to blackmail her. But William had walked it straight up to the top floor with honest hands and a humble heart. She did not want a rich socialite who would try to steal her power. She needed a good man who could keep a secret. Amelia laid out the contract with cool, businesslike precision. It would be a marriage on paper for exactly 12 months. They would live under the same roof to convince the board of directors and the hungry media. When the year was over, they would quietly part ways. In return, Amelia promised to pay off every single penny of Lily's hospital bills. She would buy them a comfortable life so William would never have to worry about putting food on the table again. William's heart hammered against his ribs. He thought of his tiny, cold apartment across town. He pictured the bright red eviction notice sitting on his kitchen counter. Most of all, he remembered sitting beside Lily's hospital bed just days ago. He remembered holding her tiny, feverish hand while silently crying, wondering how he would afford her next round of treatments. William had his pride, but pride could not buy medicine. Pride could not keep his little girl safe. "I have one condition," William said, his voice shaking with protective love. "My daughter comes first. She must never know this is a lie. She cannot be hurt by your world." "I give you my word, William," Amelia replied softly. For a brief second, the hard mask slipped from her face, revealing a deeply lonely woman. An hour later, the private lawyer arrived with thick stacks of paperwork. The silent office was filled only with the scratching sound of the expensive pen. William signed his name on the dotted line. As the black ink dried on the heavy paper, a strange chill swept through his chest. He had just saved his daughter's life, but he had also entered a gilded cage of dangerous secrets. He was now the husband of a woman he did not know. The penthouse was massive, modern, and lifeless. High glass walls looked over the glowing city, and cold marble floors echoed with every step. For William and little Lily, it felt like moving into a museum where nothing was meant to be touched. Amelia had set strict boundaries from the very first hour. She lived in the master suite at the end of the east hallway. William and Lily had their own private rooms in the west wing. Amelia treated their arrangement like a corporate merger. She wore her sharp suits like armor and kept her distance. She spoke only when necessary, keeping her tone cool and professional. But 4-year-old Lily did not understand contracts or business deals. To Lily, the penthouse was a magical castle, and Amelia was a real-life princess. Every evening, William cooked simple, warm meals in the giant, unused kitchen. The rich smells of garlic, roasted chicken, and fresh bread filled the cold hallways. William quickly noticed that Amelia never ate dinner. She worked late into the night, surviving on black coffee and relentless stress. One night, William quietly left a warm plate of food and a glass of water outside her home office door. An hour later, the empty plate was sitting on the kitchen counter, neatly cleaned. Slowly, the heavy ice around Amelia's heart began to melt. One rainy afternoon, William walked into the living room and froze. Amelia was sitting directly on the carpet in her expensive clothes. Lily was sitting next to her, happily painting Amelia's fingernails with bright pink watercolor. Amelia looked up, her cheeks turning red with embarrassment, but she did not pull her hands away. For the first time, William saw a soft, genuine smile on her face. The next morning, Lily handed Amelia a colorful drawing. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun: William, Lily, and Amelia. Across the top, Lily had written in crooked letters, "My family." Amelia stared at the paper in absolute silence. Her breath caught, and her dark eyes grew wet with unshed tears. She had spent her entire life surrounded by billions of dollars, but no one had ever given her a drawing like this. In that quiet room, the fake marriage suddenly felt dangerously real. William felt a powerful pull in his chest. He saw the lonely, wounded soul beneath Amelia's billionaire armor, and he realized he was falling for her. If you have ever felt your heart soften when you least expected it, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to follow William and Amelia's journey. By the end of the second week, the atmosphere in the home had completely changed. They began eating dinner together at the grand dining table. William found himself staying awake late just to talk with Amelia about her childhood dreams and his past hopes. Amelia laughed at his silly jokes, a sweet, musical sound that filled every empty corner of the apartment. When their fingers accidentally brushed while reaching for a dish, a jolt of electricity rushed through William's veins. He was starting to believe they could truly be happy together. Then, late on a stormy Thursday night, the fragile dream broke. William was walking down the hallway to bring Amelia a fresh cup of tea. Her office door was slightly open. He paused as he heard her frantic, hushed voice speaking on the phone. "You don't understand," Amelia whispered urgently into the receiver. "William cannot find out why I really chose him. If he learns the truth about who caused his late wife's accident, he will take Lily and hate me forever. We must keep him quiet until the inheritance is legally mine." William stood frozen in the dark. The teacup slipped from his trembling hands and shattered against the floor. The shattered porcelain on the floor seemed to mirror the sudden fracture in William's chest. Before Amelia could open her office door, William quietly stepped back into the shadows and retreated to his room. His mind raced with terrifying questions. What did Amelia mean about his late wife? Did she choose him out of guilt, or was everything just a cold, calculated game? There was no time to ask. That very evening was the annual High Society Charity Gala. It was the most important public event of the year, where Amelia had to present her new husband to the elite business world and the watchful board of directors. When Amelia stepped into the living room, William lost his breath. She wore a stunning emerald green gown that swept the floor. Her dark hair was pinned up gracefully, exposing the delicate curve of her neck. Yet behind her confident appearance, William could see the nervous flutter of her eyelashes. She looked terrified. William adjusted his tailored black tuxedo. Despite the dark secret lingering between them, he chose to stand beside her. He had made a promise to protect her for Lily's sake. The grand ballroom was dazzling with crystal chandeliers and golden lights. Hundreds of wealthy guests whispered as William and Amelia entered arm in arm. In the corner of the room stood Amelia's uncle, Richard. His sharp eyes watched them like a hungry predator waiting for a single mistake. Soft classical music began to float through the ballroom. Amelia turned to William, her voice trembling slightly. "We have to dance. Richard is watching every move we make." William took her hand and pulled her gently onto the polished dance floor. When his palm touched her waist, a sudden stillness washed over the crowded room. Amelia leaned in close, resting her cheek lightly against his chest. Her small hand gripped his shoulder as if he were the only solid thing in a storm. "I am so tired of pretending to be strong, William," Amelia whispered softly against his ear. "Everyone here only wants my money. You and Lily are the only real warmth I have ever felt." Hearing her soft voice, William felt his anger melt into a deep, aching tenderness. He looked down at her fragile face. Under the golden chandeliers, the contract, the money, and the dark secrets seemed to fade into nothing. For that brief, magical song, they were just two lonely souls finding comfort in each other's arms. He held her a little tighter, and Amelia closed her eyes, exhaling a breath she had held for years. If you believe that true love can heal the deepest wounds, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment about your favorite part so far, and subscribe so you do not miss what happens next. The night ended in a quiet ride home, their hands resting side by side on the leather car seat. For the first time, the penthouse did not feel cold. But the peace did not last through the night. By dawn, the media world exploded. William woke up to the sound of phones ringing non-stop. He rushed to the living room and found Amelia staring at the television screen in horror. Flashy headlines screamed across every major news network. A tabloid photo of William in his old janitor uniform had been leaked online, right beside a picture of them dancing at the gala. The news anchor declared that Amelia's marriage was an elaborate fraud designed to bypass her father's will. Standing on the courthouse steps on live television, Amelia's uncle smiled cruelly into the cameras. He announced a full legal investigation to strip Amelia of her company and throw William in prison for conspiracy. The storm outside was nothing compared to the fury crashing down upon their lives. By noon, Amelia's company stock plummeted to an all-time low. Board members demanded emergency meetings, and reporters swarmed the gates of the corporate tower. But for William, the real nightmare began outside Lily's preschool. When William arrived to pick up his little girl, the whispers hit him like cold stones. Wealthy parents sneered and pointed at him in the school courtyard. Cruel words echoed in the open air: gold digger. A poor janitor using his own child to trap a billionaire. Lily clung tightly to William's leg, her big brown eyes filled with tears, asking why the other parents were glaring at them. William picked her up, pressing her face against his shoulder, holding back his own tears of rage and shame. When William carried Lily back into the penthouse, the living room was in complete chaos. Amelia paced back and forth, shouting into her phone at a team of lawyers. Papers were scattered across the glass table. Her eyes were red, and her hair was a mess. When she saw William, she ended the call with a trembling hand. "My uncle is taking everything," Amelia said, her voice shaking with panic. "The board is voting to remove me in 48 hours. Everything my father built is slipping through my fingers." "And what about Lily?" William asked, his voice low and cracked with pain. "They called her father a parasite today, Amelia. She was terrified. Is this what your father's legacy is worth? Destroying everyone around you?" Amelia flinched, but the overwhelming fear inside her twisted into defensive anger. "You knew the risks when you signed the papers," she snapped, raising her voice to hide her breaking heart. "I signed to save my daughter." William stepped closer, his chest heaving. "And I thought you were starting to care about us. But I heard you on the phone. What did you hide about my wife's accident, Amelia? Did you marry me out of pity? Or was I just another transaction to save your precious throne? The room fell dead silent. Amelia's face went completely white. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The secret suffocated her. Seeing her hesitation, William felt his heart shatter into tiny, sharp pieces. This was a mistake, Amelia whispered coldly, putting her icy armor back on to stop herself from crying. You were paid to do a job, William. If this is too hard for you, take your things and leave. If William's pain resonates with your heart, please tap the like button, leave a comment about whether Amelia went too far, and subscribe to see if true love can still survive. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. William nodded slowly, his eyes stinging with bitter tears. He did not say another word. Within 20 minutes, William packed their small bag of old clothes. He left every expensive gift and every piece of fine clothing Amelia had bought him. Lily held her little teddy bear, looking back at Amelia from the doorway with tearful confusion. Amelia stood frozen by the window, refusing to turn around, letting the heavy door click shut. The penthouse was suddenly empty, colder and darker than it had ever been. Amelia finally fell to her knees on the marble floor, sobbing uncontrollably. As she crawled toward the west wing hallway, her eyes landed on something resting on William's empty nightstand. It was a thick envelope, every single dollar Amelia had given him, completely untouched. Next to it was William's worn leather journal, open to a page with Amelia's name written in bold ink at the very top. Amelia read the first sentence, and her entire world stopped spinning. Amelia picked up the battered leather journal with shaking hands. The pages were yellowed and worn at the corners. She sat on the edge of the empty bed, the cold silence of the room pressing heavily against her chest. The early pages were filled with William's raw grief, writing letters to his late wife about raising Lily alone. But as Amelia turned the pages, the handwriting changed. Her own name appeared across the crisp white sheets, written with deep and gentle care. Amelia thinks she is made of stone, one entry read. She hides behind tall glass walls and expensive suits because the world has never given her a safe place to rest. But I see her. I saw her standing outside Lily's bedroom door last Tuesday, softly reading the ending of a fairy tale so Lily wouldn't feel alone in the dark. I heard her quiet laugh when we burned the pancakes, and it was the most beautiful sound I have ever known. I know our marriage is just a piece of paper. I know she will let me go when the year ends. But God help me, I have fallen in love with my wife. Tears spilled over Amelia's cheeks, falling like hot rain onto the faded ink. William had never wanted her money. The untouched envelope on the nightstand proved that his heart was entirely pure. He had stayed beside her not for a fortune, but because he saw the lonely, frightened girl crying behind the billionaire's mask. A sharp pang of agony tore through Amelia's chest as she remembered the dreadful phone call William had overheard. He had completely misunderstood her words. Amelia had not caused his wife's fatal car crash. Her ruthless uncle, Richard, had owned the negligent logistics company responsible for the accident. Amelia had spent months secretly fighting her uncle in court to secure anonymous settlements for the victims' families. That was how she had first discovered William's name and his desperate fight for Lily's medical treatments. She had tried to protect William from Richard's cruel games, but her stubborn pride and silence had destroyed everything instead. If you want Amelia to reach William before it is too late, take a moment to hit the like button, share your feelings in the comments below, and subscribe to witness how their love story concludes. Amelia did not waste another second. She threw her business folders to the floor and dropped her loudly vibrating phone onto the desk. The corporate board meeting was starting in less than an hour. Her billionaire inheritance was on the line, but at that moment, it meant absolutely nothing to her. None of the wealth in the world could ever replace the man who had brought warmth into her freezing soul. Amelia sprinted out of the penthouse into the pouring rain. She got into her car and drove frantically through the stormy city streets. Her heart beat with a desperate rhythm against her ribs. She sped past the glittering skyscrapers and navigated deep into the rough, forgotten edges of the town. She finally pulled up outside a cheap, flickering neon sign of a rundown roadside motel. Through the cracked, rain-streaked window of the ground-floor motel room, Amelia saw him. William was sitting under a dim yellow lamp, holding little Lily close against his chest as the child slept peacefully. His face was pale and hollow with exhaustion. He had already taken a punishing double shift at a local diner just to afford the tiny, damp room for the night. Amelia stepped out into the freezing storm, her designer clothes soaking through within seconds. Her tears mixed with the downpour as her trembling hand reached out to knock on the weathered motel door. She prayed with every beat of her heart that it was not too late to heal what she had broken. The heavy wooden door slowly creaked open. William stood in the doorway, staring in utter disbelief. Amelia stood before him on the concrete walkway, completely drenched in the freezing rain. Her expensive blazer was soaked, her dark hair was plastered to her pale cheeks, and her tears ran freely. The powerful billionaire CEO looked small, fragile, and completely stripped of all her armor. "Amelia?" William whispered, glancing back anxiously at the small bed where Lily was fast asleep. "What are you doing here?" "I came to tell you the truth," Amelia choked out, her voice trembling violently from the cold and the pain. "Please, William. Just give me 5 minutes." William stepped aside. Amelia walked into the cramped, chilly motel room. She did not care about the peeling wallpaper or the worn-out carpet. Her eyes locked directly onto William's tired, guarded face. "I read your journal," Amelia whispered, her chest heaving as fresh tears spilled down her face. "And I hate myself for making you feel like a business transaction. You were never just a contract to me, William." She took a shaky breath and confessed everything. She told him that her uncle Richard owned the reckless delivery company responsible for his wife's tragic accident. She explained how she had been secretly fighting Richard for months to win justice for the victims. "I didn't choose you to use you, William. I wanted to protect you from Richard's greed. But then I met you, and I met Lily. I realized very quickly that I was the one who was truly lost, and you were the one saving me." William's breath caught in his throat. The dark cloud of doubt that had haunted him for days completely dissolved. "The emergency board meeting is happening right now," William said softly, his voice full of wonder. "Your inheritance, Amelia, you are losing your father's entire empire." "Let them take every single cent," Amelia said without a single second of hesitation. "My father wanted me to build a real life with real love. He did not want me to die alone in a cold, golden tower. $1 billion cannot hold my hand when I am scared at night. A company cannot make me smile the way you do." Amelia took a step closer. Slowly, she sank to her knees onto the worn motel floor. She looked up at William with total surrender and pure love shining in her eyes. "I don't have a diamond ring to offer you," she whispered, her voice shaking with emotion. "I have no contracts. No legal papers. No expiration date. I only have my heart, William. Will you marry me for real this time? Will you let me be your wife, and let me love Lily as our daughter forever?" If this beautiful moment brought tears to your eyes, please hit the like button, share your warmest wishes in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel for more unforgettable love stories. William looked down at the woman kneeling before him. Every wall around his heart shattered into dust. Tears rolled down his rough cheeks as he dropped to his knees right beside her. He cupped her wet face in his warm hands and pulled her into a tight, protective embrace. "Yes," William whispered against her hair, his voice breaking with pure joy. 1,000 times, yes. Months later, the warm morning sun poured into the kitchen of a bright, peaceful home. Amelia had successfully defeated her uncle in court, but her greatest victory was sitting right in front of her. Little Lily sat at the table with pancake syrup on her nose, happily laughing. William walked over, setting down 2 warm cups of coffee. Amelia looked up into her husband's eyes, taking his hand tightly in hers. They were no longer bound by paper or lies. They were finally a real, unbreakable family.